Hello, this is Kade, and it is now day 4, day 5. I'm starting to lose track already of the IAE 2950 Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. And today we have Crusader Industries, one of the big boys in the market, and a couple of small partners in the form of Kruger and Tumbril also joining in. So it's a fairly small display today. You can see here the halls are all closed off, so it's just the center hall here, and we can confirm, as it will show you here as well, all the halls are closed. So not a whole lot for show, and that's of course there's not a whole lot that's done of these people. Now, front and center, of course, we have the Star Runner. Well, I don't think there needs to be a whole lot said about this one anymore. Everybody's been over this ship. I didn't make any dedicated content on it because, well, a lot of people do it already, and I wasn't really feeling like it. Overall, though, it's of course pretty much a competitor of the Connie right now, I think, in game. But in the same price bracket, similar sort of role what they can fulfill, although the Mercury Star Run, of course, has this future data running aspect with it, and it has, I believe, a bit less cargo compared to Constellation. And firepower also, depending how you look at it, a bit less. That said, it's going to be, I think, a favorite ship. Like, a lot of people have been waiting for the ship for a long time, and I think the final result will please a lot of people. I know some complain about how hard it is to get around inside of the thing because of all the doors, but that's something you get used to, and I don't think it's really too bad. They could have done some of the interior space probably a little bit more efficiently, but well, we'll see what they do with it. I don't expect this will get a rework. Anyhow, I think it's a really solid ship, and I do actually plan to grab one myself this time around because it seems a good multi-role ship to have in your fleet. Then from Kruger we have, of course, the Merlin and Archimedes. These are the snub fighters, or well, racing ship, which one you want. In the end of the day, these are not worth buying separately. It's simple as that. It's like you're not going to be buying these separately. They come together with your Connie. You get the Merlin, or the Phoenix, I believe, gets the Archimedes. They're snubs, and you don't really buy snubs separately because the only time when you bought these things was when they were first announced in concept, and we bought a bunch of these like for LTI tokens. Beyond that, like if you want to get this sort of ship, just get something that's fully proper. Now let's take a look downstairs. I expect we'll have a couple of displays and the holo tables. And we have, of course, the Tumbril Cyclone series here. I am really not a fan of these, purely because they're completely open and exposed, which doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Like if I'm driving around on the moon going full speed, stuff is getting kicked up, I kind of want a windshield, you know? It's like, it doesn't even need to be an airtight unit, but it just should have a windshield and a door, so I'm like protected against debris and stuff like that. And especially if you have some of these that are, of course, more military focused, you kind of want more protection for yourself when you're inside of them. So that's my problem with these things, and beyond that, it's like, yeah, they're just used to get around or some weak AA platform. I don't really get them, but perhaps like later on when we see more use for ground-based vehicles, that people will actually enjoy them. And perhaps, yeah, if you got a bunch of these, like you got your industrial outpost, and you have like a rubble of these things running around the place just to get around, it could be useful. And it would seem here we have the armed version, so yeah, got here one with its remote turret, and then here the with a couple of missiles, but it's just not enough firepower on either of these things to really be worth it. I mean, I guess something with this turret maybe against anti-infantry, it could potentially be dangerous, but then again, you don't have any protection yourself, so you're really exposed while you use this. So if this was like a closed unit with protection offering, so it has some level of armor, then yeah, having this could be a reasonable threat to people that are just infantry running around the place. Because you're talking about a ship level weapon versus people that walk around with handguns or rifles. The bikes, pretty much like the same sort of deal, and I especially don't get the point of these weapons, fixed weapons on the bikes. They're going to be a nightmare to use effectively at anyway. I would just like these bikes, just get them without guns would be perfectly fine. I do get more point of the bikes than the Cyclones because the bikes are a smaller form factor, so you can just sneak one in between the cargo pads and have that one around, so you have a means where you land somewhere to get around quickly. Beyond that, right now, of course, they're not in, so don't really bother. The tongue. I think I'm just going to refer you to my video I made on this, which is a lot of people agree, some people disagree. I remain with my statement. This is an absolutely horrible, horrible design of a tank, and it falls flawed to every possible failure that you could do in a science fiction tank design. So I really hate it. On top of that, it's just really expensive. It's still not out yet. We don't see what really use they're gonna have for us in the PU. So unless we hear like, yeah, there's gonna be really gameplay where you want to have like a platoon of tanks, just don't buy tanks. Just don't. And of course the big boys, the Starlifters. Now this is the A2, so that's gonna be the bomber version with a lot of turrets on it. It could be really, really powerful if ground gameplay is really gonna be in there. Like a couple of these could devastate an industrial zone, or maybe if you have like a reinforced position, these things would make absolute short work of it. The downside is the price of the A2s is extraordinarily high. And that makes them a really hard sell right now, so I can't really recommend them because we just don't know enough, again, about ground gameplay. And the price being that high, it makes it a really hard sell. Now I'm not sure they're going to have any other displays for the other versions, they don't. So, addressing the M2, that's of course the military cargo variation. The M2 is the one that you want if you expect to be landing in hot zones. So like you're landing in combat zones, then you want probably the M2 because it does have additional firepower, but most importantly it has additional armor. So it can take more of a hit. Also if you be flying like more in the dangerous regions of space, even if you're flying in a convoy with protection, you still run the risk of getting hit. So it could be useful to sacrifice cargo capacity for additional protection. If you're flying more in safe space, or you don't really expect to be at risk because of your convoy sizes or whatever, and you just want the cargo capacity, the C2 is the one to get because it's going to have by far the largest hold and hence the most capacity. I personally have a couple of the C2s because I see them being really useful, and also especially in combination with the Pioneer. The Pioneer, of course, being the big base builder, and the C2 is the ideal ship to supply the Pioneer with the materials that it needs because it can actually land on planets. You can, roll off. It's a roll-on, roll-off type of cargo ship. Where, of course, the whole series, well, some of them still can land, most of them really can, and I've really focused on boxes and stuff. So I see the C2 as being a really good cargo hauler in the Persistent Universe once it comes out. And that ability to just land anywhere does allow it to have a lot more trade routes than, for example, a larger hull series ship, which can of course carry way more cargo, but they need equipment to be loaded and unloaded. As far as Hercules Star, like you could, a bit extreme case, but you could literally load and unload it by hand. You would not need any equipment. Or most likely what you would see, for example, with the Antonov planes, like the AN-124, or the Big 225, they actually carry loading and unloading equipment on board, or even have cranes or just vehicles, etc. on the plane, so wherever they land, they know there may not be anything there, they have everything with them, so they can just get down to business. I really think that this is a very strong series of ships to consider. Of course, we also have the Starliner, which they also are not showing. Starliner being the passenger transport. It's pretty much like your current wide-body plane, like your Boeing 777, your Airbus A350, etc. We don't know a lot about them yet because it's been I think it was the first Crusader ship that they actually showed ever. It's never been in production, I believe, because they're working on the C2 because they need it for squadron, as far as I recall. And also cargo is just a lot easier to deal with than passenger, and we have cargo gameplay in the game right now, and we don't have passenger transport. Will passenger transport be viable later on? I fully expect it will be, because people always need to go from A to B. So having not the Starlift, now I forgot the name of it, sorry for that. But having the passenger transport is going to be a great addition to a fleet later on when it comes in. Is it worth buying it right now? Probably not. Depends on what the loaner matrix is. Maybe if you buy that one, you get a C2 when it comes out in the game, then it could be interesting. And then I think for the last option for today, we have the Ares. So these are the anti-capital, sub-capital fighters, coming in 2 variations. The Ion with the energy weapon, and the Inferno with the ballistic cannon. So these things are interesting, I think is the best way to put them. They're based around a single size 7 weapon, and that's it. That's all they got, that's all Xishan is like. And they come in at a price of $220, so they're fairly expensive. Do we know how they will perform? No, we don't. They don't have LTR right now. I don't really expect them to get much more expensive, because they're already really expensive for what they are. So my current opinion with the Ares series is that I would not recommend you to buy them, because there's just not enough known about how effective they will be. If we learn later on that like these things are maneuverable enough and they actually also can work in a dogfight, then especially the Inferno I would expect could be devastating to fighters, because it's based around a ballistic Gatling weapon. It will be a really big punch, it will go through a lot of the shields and really chew up fighters along the way. Of course, the countermeasure could be there that some people will be running these Banu shields, which of course have the 100% block against ballistic, but we'll still have to see if that's actually going to stay. Because again, a lot of these balanced things are up in the air and will change around. So yeah, that's it for Crusader Industries, Kruger and Tumbril for today. Small show, not that many ships on display. It's kind of sad because in the trailer they had the big C2 already in the hall, so I think a lot of us would have liked to see the C2, but I think they're just like, it's just not finished enough for them. I think they probably would have wanted it, because that's why they had this video. The video was of course made in advance. So I think they had planned for the C2 to be here, but it's just not at a state that they're ready to show it. But yeah, in general, the main two ships to take away from this one are of course the Star Runner and the C2, and both from Crusader Industries. Those are the ones that really have a good role, good functionality, and that we know will work. And some other ships that may be coming in play later on. And a lot of things like these snubs that are just not really worth recommending. And yeah, I hope this was informative, and as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.